Hello and welcome back to the training. Today we are going to teach you how to process your auction invoices. As we've said in these intro videos, we're going to break this down into three main sections. The first one is how to process your auction invoices. Second, when is the best time to process your invoices? And third, what are your next steps and how can you get help with processing invoices? Again, before we get started, you may want to grab a pen and some paper to jot down some notes. We are going to be doing a follow-up phone call with you to answer any questions that you might have. And as always, you can always stop and pause this video and rewind to rewatch. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start, again, logged in on our affiliate dashboard. We will see we have some draft auctions, some active auctions, and some awaiting settlement. This is an affiliate that has a lot of auctions going on. But I'm going to go ahead and look at the invoices for this auction right here. Whenever I click into the auction, it's going to take me first to the lot list, and then I'm going to have to go to my list invoices page. And if you remember, this is where we downloaded our invoices prior to our removal. One quick thing here I want to mention before we get rolling into the processing portion is that you'll notice the status of the auction is now changed to invoices generated, and that will remain open until all invoices are processed. At that point, it'll change to invoices have been processed or invoices processed. So the process for processing your invoices is fairly straightforward. At this point, you should have done your removal, collected all the payments, and bidders received all their items. Hopefully everyone picked up and you didn't have any issues there. What I would recommend you do at this point is get your invoices into piles as to how people have paid. You could have a credit card in person file. You could have a credit card paid online file, whether that be Square or your merchant account. You could have cash, check, all those different payment method piles, no shows and no sales. And I'll get into what those mean here in a little bit. So you'll notice on our list invoices page that each bidder has a checkbox next to the name. And the first way that we can process invoices, which is very, very straightforward, is we select any number of these bidders. And on the top of the page, we could change the status, and that will just change the status of those bidders that I've selected. If we wanted to, we could select all bidders on the auction and change the status to either paid cash, paid check, paid credit, paid Square. In this instance would mean that the payment was done online, and this affiliate's using Square, so the payment was made online through them. There's also a no-show, which is an unpaid invoice, so typically the bidder's fault. And in any no-show invoice over $25, that bidder will be automatically disabled. And then the last one here is no sale, and that's typically an issue with the item or an issue with our description, and the bidder will not be penalized for that. When you do process as a no sale, we're going to ask you for the reason why, whether it be it was misdescribed or the item was damaged. We just want to track that data to see what issues buyers are having, if there's a higher amount of no sales on a per affiliate basis, just to keep track of that information. So if I got my piles of paid cash, paid check, paid credit, I could very easily just start going through my piles and selecting the bidders that apply and going up to the top and changing the status one at a time, or one group at a time. You will also notice that there's an option here for tax exempt. So some bidders will be tax exempt and they'll provide you with the proper paperwork. We can very easily change that at this point. This says tax exempt is false. We can very easily change that to set this invoice to tax exempt. Say yes. And now that invoice has been updated and we have a green check mark there. So that's another pile of invoices you would want to put together. Go through first, make sure that they're marked as tax exempt, and then we'll process them as the correct payment method using this drop down button. You'll also notice all the way down on the bottom here, there's the same option. So you still have your change status button here on the bottom as well, and the tax option. Again, we mentioned this during the downloading of invoices, but you'll see all those bidders that have paid online with a corresponding reference number for the paid square and when those payments were made. So those are already done for you. That's the good part about the online payment option, is it automatically makes those payments in the system and will update the invoice. What this notation here, this hashtag sign, that means that the bidder started the process. They opened up the payment page on the square side, but they didn't finish it. It's not necessarily an error. It just means they didn't follow through with the payment. So if a bidder does call you and say, hey, I went through the payment process and you see this, you could say, well, we're not showing that on our end. We're showing that you started it but never completed it. You can always verify that on the back end of either your Square account or your merchant account to see if that payment was made. One last thing I want to show you here on this list is these red bidder numbers. So what that means, and in this case, the affiliate has already gone in and processed these no-shows. I think if I scroll up to the top, it says that we have 4 no-shows at this point. And that would be a recommendation of ours, is to process your no-shows as soon as possible. So if you have a 2-day removal, right after that second removal day, if you haven't heard from that bidder, if you don't have a feeling that they're going to be calling you, we would recommend you go in and process those as soon as possible. Because that will disable those bidders. And as you can see, any bidder that's been disabled will be in red here. So we can see that because of this no-show, over $25, that bidder has been disabled. And the reason that's important, of course, is if the bidder is fraudulent or does not have plans to complete their purchases, we don't want them bidding on other affiliate auctions. There is one other way to process your invoices on a per invoice basis, and that is the process button. Now, my recommendation would be to use the first method that I showed you, using this list, checking these checkboxes and using the change status button. But there's also an option to use this process page. And this is more of a point of sale type page that we have available. You'll see you'll have your invoice number. It will populate that based on the invoice that we clicked on. It'll have our bidder information, all this data as well, the bid total, sales tax. This was actually the invoice that I marked as tax exempt. You can also do that on this page here. But what I would do to process on this processing page is put in a C for credit card, A for cash, K for check. So I could do this C here for credit card and just go ahead and hit processed and then done, and that invoice would be processed. And our invoices do go in sequential order. So if I wanted to jump to the next, I'm going to delete this real quick. Next bidder there, you see I put in 598059. There's the next bidder on my auction. And I could keep going, one at a time, putting in the payment method here, whether it be C, A, or K, marking if they're tax exempt or not. So it is a little bit more involved, and for that reason, not the method that I would recommend to process your invoices. So that was the first section of this video, the actual process of how to process your invoices. Pretty straightforward. The next section, section number 2, is going to talk about when to process your invoices. So KBID has a 10-day period that we require that invoices be processed after the auction close. So if the auction closes on the 1st of the month, we would expect that invoices be processed within 10 days or on the 11th of the month. And the reason why we have that time frame is that everything in our system hinges on these process dates, such as the no-shows being disabled, our buyer's premium invoices. All of those reports and things within the system are based off of invoice processing dates. And like I mentioned before, we would highly recommend that you process those no-shows as soon as possible after your removal when you have not heard from those buyers. So that was the first section that I wanted to show you, how to process your auction invoices. The second section has to deal with when to process your invoices. And as mentioned, KBID gives you 10 days after the auction is closed to get your invoices processed. And the reason that we have that time frame is that everything in our system is based off of the process date. That's how we determine which bidders we need to turn off. That's how we bill for buyer's premium. That's how you create your reports. That's how you create your seller settlements. It's really, really important that we have that in a timely fashion and accurate for our reports and for your reports as well. You will notice the process date will show up here on our invoice list as well. And I mentioned that the process date is important for our billing procedures because we do not bill affiliates for buyer's premium on a per auction basis. We use 2 billing periods a month to bill affiliates for the buyer's premium. And how that works is that from the 1st through the 15th of the month, every invoice that you process as paid in that time frame, we're going to send you an invoice on the 20th for that amount. And no matter 1 auction or 10 auctions in that time frame, any invoice you process as paid, we're going to send you an invoice on the 20th. Similarly, from the 16th through the end of the month, whether it's the 30th, 31st, we're going to send you an invoice on the 5th of the following month for all invoices processed in that time frame. Excuse me. So as you can see, there is potential for you to have an auction invoice on the first billing period of the month if you processed it on the 14th, and on the second billing period of the month if you processed it on the 16th, which isn't an issue. It's just something that you want to be aware of. How you will find information on your buyer's premium billing reports is on your dashboard. And you could imagine it's going to be underneath the Reports and Tools tab, and then our buyer's premium by billing period. So this is going to give you all the detail that you need of invoices that you've processed within a given time frame. So that will correlate exactly with the buyer's premium invoice that you receive from us. And just to clarify, you're never paying buyer's premium for a no-show invoice. Even if, after the fact, the buyer has an issue with the item and we need to change that status from paid to a no-show, we will make the correct adjustments on that on the billing side. So let me jump back into that auction one more time and get into our list invoices. There are a few more things I want to cover here before we get into the next steps. If you need an adjustment to any invoice, say an item was broken or one item from the invoice was not as described and we need to get that removed from the bidder's invoice, that is not an adjustment that you can make, but it is one that we will make for you. And how you get that information to us is that you email affiliateservices@k-bidmail.com with all of the information that we would need to adjust that invoice. The auction ID, the bidder ID, the reason for the adjustment, and what the adjustment needs to be made. So you can make any of those adjustments on site. It doesn't need to be done immediately. Just make sure you take really good notes and send that in to us at affiliateservices@k-bidmail.com, and we'll get that invoice adjusted before you process it, so you're not overpaying for buyer's premium or sales tax if the price has changed. In the upper right-hand corner, underneath Selected Auction menu, I also want to show you the Close Report. Which is a very useful report for affiliates when it comes to reconciling the funds that you've collected. You'll see on the top here, we're going to have the revenue from processed invoices. Now at this point, this auction does not have all the invoices processed, so the card on file or the check and cash columns are not filled out. But when those are, you're going to have totals of what you've collected in cash, what you've said you've collected in check, what you've said you've collected in credit card, and Square payments. And the differentiation there is that your Square payments are typically going to be those payments made online. You can also process invoices as paid credit card. And how I would recommend you use that is if someone paid you on site with your Square terminal or your merchant account terminal, keep that distinction of how people have paid via credit card as to online, keep that under Square, and payments made in person, maybe change that to credit card. So you'll see here there's multiple columns here, or rows, that gives us the subtotal, the house buyer's premium, this would be payable to KBID, the affiliate buyer's premium, so this is the 3% that you keep, and that will be included even in cash, check, payments up to $5,000, other fees if there were vehicles involved, and then sales tax as well. So the reason that this top report is so important is it gives you the ability to go through your numbers, make sure that your cash receipts match what you've told the system you've collected, that your check receipts, same thing, credit cards as well, and that your grand total is the same. Because again, we want accuracy here, not just for our benefit, but for yours. We don't want you over submitting taxes. We don't want you paying your sellers incorrectly. Accuracy is very important here. Obviously, we're talking about money, so we want to make sure that that's all good to go. There's a bunch of other information on this page as well. It's going to give us detail of how people have paid, any unpaid invoices as well. These were already processed as no-shows. Some lot detail, say if we adjusted an invoice, we would have that information here. So this is the go-to page for reconciling your auction after it's closed, and we do have some nice options. Sorry to scroll all the way down. That will allow you to download some of these into a CSV file as well. So if you want to keep these reports on a separate Excel sheet, you're certainly welcome to do so. The last option up here in the selected auction menu is your settlement report. We'll have another video that we're going to send out on creating settlements and paying out your sellers, but that's just where that lives. So the third thing I just wanted to show you on the process of processing your invoices is what's next. I told you if you need any adjustments made, you just need to let us know by emailing affiliate services at k-bidmail.com. Within 10 days of the auction closing, you're going to get your invoices all processed. If at all possible, process your no-show invoices first so we can get those bidders turned off. And in many cases, when we process no-show bidders early, that will prompt them to call us as well. What you'll notice is when we get all of our invoices processed on this page, our status will change from invoices generated to invoices processed. And that lets us know at KBID Corporate that the auction is complete on our end. You do not need to let us know. It is just within 10 days, all we are looking for is that the status of the auction has changed from invoices generated to invoices processed, and that lets us know that everything has been completed. What you will notice at that point, and I'm going to jump to the dashboard and show you a different auction here to give you an idea of what it looks like. So this is an auction that the invoices have been processed. I'm going to jump to the list invoices page real quick. It's a pretty small auction, but it has 4 invoices that all have been processed. The status is already changed because the affiliate's done. There's one last thing that they're able to do within this auction if they're done with it, and you'll see that now there's a button that has popped up that says set auction to settled. And that is just a new status that you can use however you like. Most people will use that when they've paid out their consigners and they know that they are done with the auction. The status really has no meaning to us at KBID Corporate. It can mean whatever you want. If you sell your own inventory, it could trigger any time frame in your process. It's just another status that you can use. But like I said, most people will use that once they've paid out all their consigners and they're ready to settle the auction. So to recap and to finalize this training on processing invoices, we showed you how to actually process your invoices. We went through the time frame of when you need to get those invoices processed, which is 10 days. Next, I want to talk a little bit about next steps and what you can do going forward. Of course, I want to direct you to the affiliate knowledge base where we have all of these resources available, specifically in the auction software procedures section. It's going to talk about all of the post-auction procedures that we need here, including the processing invoices section that we just went through. Once, again, to reiterate, once you've got your invoices processed within that 10-day time frame, there is nothing more required of you. You don't need to alert KBID Corporate, KBID staff. That auction is done in our eyes unless you need adjustments made to it. We will bill you for buyer's premium within those time frames from the 1st to the 15th. You'll receive an invoice on the 20th from us, and then invoices processed from the 16th through the end of the month. You're also going to receive an invoice from us on the 5th of the following month for those invoices as well. So if you have any questions, please again take advantage of the affiliate knowledge base, and certainly if you need to get a hold of us, email affiliateservices@k-bidmail.com. That's going to go to everyone in our office and get you the quickest solution to whatever your problem might be, if that's an adjustment on your invoice, billing question, any types of questions. That's what we're here for. Again, we're super excited that you're on board and you're with KBID and the affiliate network. We hope your first auction or auctions are going well. Let us know what feedback you have. This is an ongoing thing for us. We're always growing and learning. So we do want to know how things are going with you and how we can help you out. Or if you have recommendations on the software, please let us know. We can't do everything, but we certainly will take that into consideration and try to make your jobs as easy as possible. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and we will talk to you soon.